r/askreddit. All you can eat buffet workers, what are your horror stories?
College friend worked at a Chinese buffet. He said they caught a regular dipping his pizza in the wonton soup bowl, like in the queue and not at his table, and eating it. Bite, dip, bite, dip, bite, dip, bite, dip, bip. After the fourth time in a month he did it, management finally kicked him out.
Like he brought pizza into the buffet, or this was a Chinese place that also does pizza?
Every Chinese buffet has one terrible pepperoni pizza for the picky eater kids.
At one point, I worked for a pizza place that used to have a day buffet that I would make pizzas for. One time, two huge dudes come in the moment we opened for the buffet. The manager on duty dropped the first two pizzas down on the buffet, turned to grab the next two, turned back, and both pizzas were gone. A few minutes later, both dudes walked back up and each take an entire pizzas again and walk back to continue eating. They proceeded to do this over and over, grabbing an entire pizza each for themselves for the entire 3 hours we were offering the buffet. Was one hell of a day. Dominance. Hashtag ESTABLISHED.
I worked at a Ruby Tuesday in Center City, Philly, first floor of the Liberty Place building. I had a couple that would come in about twice a week that requested me. They would gorge themselves at the salad bar for about an hour, ask for large glasses of water with no ice, then both would take the water into the bathroom. They would come out a few minutes later with empty glasses, ask for the check, and leave. I finally put it together that they were bulimic after I walked in the women's bathroom, and it smelled like vomit. Very polite folks and tipped well, though.
There was a fairly expensive restaurant in Dallas in the 80s called Southern Kitchen. About $25 per person back then, with food served to the table. Really good stuff. They were famous for cinnamon rolls. The owner said he'd seen many, many women ruin expensive purses hiding those rolls. Man, I miss that place.
That's about $60 in today's dollars for anybody who cares.
Yeah, it's not like Golden Corral or a regular buffet. It was much nicer.
Obligatory, not a buffet worker, just a witness. We were waiting in line for the soft serve machine at Golden Corral. The woman in front of us gets up to the machine and awkwardly jerks the handle around in an attempt to get at the sweet, sweet ice cream within. She's pushing, pulling, twisting, doing literally everything but turning it to the right, which would have dispensed the ice cream. She's really perplexed by this.
So she takes the next logical step, of course, which is to wrap her lips around the spout, form a seal on it with her mouth, and start trying to suck it right out of the tap. One of the workers sees this and looks on in disgust before he unplugs the machine.
On the way out, we see that he put an out-of-order sign on it, so thankfully they didn't keep serving it after that whole incident.
Golden Corral, the Walmart of restaurants.
Or, as I like to call it, the food trough. I was once at an old country buffet, waiting patiently to get some macy and cheese. The kid in front of me plied his plate high and then started tapping the serving spoon to get all of the Chessy goodness free from the confines of the spoon. Once he was satisfied with his handiwork, he licked the spoon clean. I didn't have any macy and cheese and haven't been back since.
What an asshole child. Me personally, I fucking love me some Marcy and cheese. Hands would have been thrown if it were me. Wouldn't actually punch a kid, but man, I'd be pissed LMRO.
My mum instincts would have kicked in, and I'd have grabbed the spoon from him and given him a talking to. Probably would have gotten yelled at by his real mum for presuming to tell her kid what not to do, because there is no way a kid can end up with that poor of behaviour if their parents are reasonable people.
Went as a customer to a Golden Corral. I'm walking to the chocolate fountain and 3 little girls step in front of me, and all 3 of them just go hands deep in the fountain. The family was the first table by the fountain, and all they did was laugh about how cute it was. Employees turned it off immediately.
Oh, 3 girls contaminating the chocolate fountain. How cute.
Not an employee, but I was standing behind a woman at Hometown Buffet. She was getting some lasagna or something, basically a really cheesy pasta that when you lift the serving utensil, a lot of cheese hangs on. I witnessed her lift her pasta, twirl all the excess cheese that was connected around her index finger, and there was a lot, clip it off with her thumbnail, and then fling it back into the pasta. I knew I shouldn't have been at Hometown Buffet in the first place, but this solidified my stance to never go back.
When I read and then fling it back into the pasta, IGAEPED.
Right. I thought, okay, not a big deal. She's probably gonna stuff her face with greasy buffet cheese. Oh God, why? Really though, why? Really though, why fling it back in? Why?
buffet where I live got shut down for serving coyote meat and labeling it as other meat.
A place near me got busted last year for trapping seagulls on the roof and passing it off as chicken.
No crap, a place my family used to frequent just got busted earlier this year for have caged pigeons in the basement.
Not a buffet, but I worked at a pizza parlor that offered a lunch buffet of endless pizza. The lunch ran from 11 a.m. 3 p.m. This gentleman comes in, I think he was homeless. He serves up a sky-high plate of pizza and just goes to town. He stayed from the beginning to the very end to make sure he got his money's worth. Well, his body didn't appreciate being stuffed like a piñata of pizza. He got up, waddled fast to the bathroom, and next thing I know, I'm being told he had liquid crap trailing behind him to the bathroom and inside the bathroom. I was informed by my boss about the incident. I told him I was just heading out for a break. I was not about to clean that up.
Not a worker, but I was at a Chinese buffet with a hot pot option that you had to pay extra for. There was a separate section with the stuff for that which was raw. This guy loaded up his plate with all this raw stuff and was eating it, including dangerous raw stuff like shrimp. I think he may have been slightly intellectually disabled. The Chinese staff had to come over and inform him that he was eating the wrong things and try to explain it to him. He got really embarrassed and said that he did not understand how it worked. Between the Chinese staff with their limited English and this poor guy who was not capable of really understanding what he had done wrong, it was one of those awkward moments in a life that you cannot forget no matter how much you try.
I had a roommate that was diagnosed Asperger's and had lived with his mother till he was like 34. Dude wasn't really functional. He said his car was shaking when he got up to 50 miles per hour on the highway. I later noticed him pouring oil into his car. I asked him if he had ever changed the oil, or if he just added it. I encouraged him to go to an oil change place and have them swap the oil. Lo and behold, his car stopped shaking when it got to 50. Poor dude, I had to kick him out of the house after he was about $1,500 behind on rent to me. I think he's on government assistance now, thank God. Not a worker, but I went to Hometown Buffet, and the kid in front of me was slightly shorter than the buffet bar, but had his hands in the yellow jello, just massaging it. Then his mom came by and snatched him away, but didn't say anything while a guy came and made himself a bowl of jello. Tenure. Old me was too appalled to say anything. I haven't eaten jello since then.
I work at a quick-serve restaurant and we have cookies by the register, and chips and crap. Well, some lady came in with her uncontrollable 5-year-old son that was grabbing everything in his path. When they were paying, I noticed the little boy grab a cookie off the counter and bite it through the sarin wrap. The mother took it from him and tried to put it back on the stack. I told her he just had that in his mouth. You're gonna have to pay for it, and at that exact moment, the shithead kid grabbed the whole pile of cookies and slung them on the floor. I tried to find the cookie he bit out of a stack of 5 or so, and his mum got really pissed and refused to admit that he did that, saying things like I would be able to see a child's teeth marks. He didn't bite any of them. So I ended up throwing away 5 cookies and saying of course he didn't bite any of them. I'm an idiot. And she angrily paid and left.
Dude, karma's going to F her by raising a kid like that. He'll be a nightmare as a teenager.
My first job was as a dishwasher in an all-you-can-eat fried catfish buffet. People are animals, especially the ones that get far more food off the buffet than they can eat. Then they take the leftovers and pile them on a plate or tray, covering ketchup and tartar sauce. Then pour their iced tea over the top of all that. A lot of people got at least 2 plates like that a night. Nothing made me hate people like bussing/dishwashing on buffet night at the pizza place I worked at in college. What the fuck? Serving after? Church crowd is pretty high up there though. Jesus Christ would never have changed a dirty diaper on the table and left it there. Okay, bitch.
A woman came in with 2 of her kids and had a pretty regular meal. You pay when you leave at our place, and she decided to sneak out with her younger daughter before paying, leaving her underage son alone at the table. We caught on pretty quick and sent someone after her, who found her in her car in the parking garage, waiting for her son to come as well. She refused to come back in and pay, so we had to keep her son hostage until the police came to handle the situation. What some people will do to their kids, I swear.
I did something similar, but not maliciously. My wife and I went out to eat at a local Thea place, and after dinner I realized I forgot my wallet and my wife didn't bring her purse. I left my wife as collateral and dashed home and back in record time.
What's your wife worth?